Hi everybody, welcome to J&S Farms, and today I'm going to be continuing talking about the livestock guardian dogs, and I thought I would cover when I bring the puppies home and the training that I do with the puppies. So I haven't trained a dog since Jax, when he was a puppy, and that's been about 4 years ago. But and just keep in mind that I am not a professional trainer. This is just how I do it, and you can kind of take from it what you want. So first things first is you probably want to have a pin ready to go before you bring your puppy home, and it needs to be a secure pin, preferably near where your animals are going to be, where your animals are housed, or among them, or in the pen where they are. And that way your puppy can get used to the different sights and sounds and smells of your farm. So before you get your puppy, make sure you have a place to put it. Okay, so you've got your puppy and you're bringing it home. The first thing that I always do whenever I bring a new puppy home is I will put it in its new enclosure, and I will just sit with it and let it get used to the sound of my voice. I will let it get used to the smells of the new environment, and it always helps to have a few treats in your pocket if they do want to come up and smell you or whatnot. When I did bring Jax home, it took him, I think it was like 3 days before he would come up and actually take a treat from my hand. He was one of those puppies that stood back and watched me, wanted nothing to do with me, so it took him a few days to warm up to the idea. But most puppies, it does take them a short amount of time to warm up to their new surroundings and really get used to the day-to-day functions. And then in the pen, you're probably going to want to provide some entertainment for the puppy. They do get very destructive if they do not have something to do. They will chew on anything and everything, so make sure that you have anything that you have a value that you don't want chewed up, make sure that it is up and out of the way, because they do chew on everything. With Mia, she was 2 years old and still chewing stuff up. Jax, he was probably 8 months to a year before he started chewing stuff up, or stopped chewing things. So they do chew a lot when they are puppies. So try to provide something for them to play with and different things like that in their little enclosure that you have for them. Okay. Now for the first week or so, you want to be, or the caregiver of the puppy, not necessarily you, but the caregiver of the puppy needs to be the only one that is caring for the puppy. You want them to establish that that is the alpha, the caregiver of them. So that person should be the only one for about a week or so to care for the pup. Now, and what I mean by that is, you know, feeding them and loving on them and playing with them and things like that. So after that, introducing children is a really good idea. The kids are most of the Great Pyrenees puppies love kids, and they take to them better than they take to adults. So after about a week or so, go ahead and introduce the rest of the family members so that they can start integrating into the puppy's life and whatnot. So okay, so after your pup is there for a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe, you can start, you know, the training with your puppy. Never leave them unattended with your livestock. Never ever unattended, because chickens can be considered play toys. So, and they can kill chickens. So, not meaning to, but they can. Oh my goodness, the sun's decided to come out. Let's see here. Okay, so hang on, I lost my place here. I've got notes so that I don't forget. I don't want to leave anything out, so I'm kind of catching myself up here. Okay, so You want to start the training as soon as possible. My dogs know 3 commands, and that is come, sit, and leave it. And those are the 3 commands that I teach my livestock guardian dogs. Now keep in mind when you do start the training that these dogs were bred to be independent thinkers, which makes them very hard to train because they are so independent whenever they are working. So teaching them at an early age is kind of crucial for those foundation commands that you want them to have. So I start with the come command, and once they get really good at that, I usually will just let them follow me around, and whenever I'm doing chores, and Great Pyrenees, that breed is really good about following you around and whatnot. So let them do your chores with you, and then as you're doing them, if they do something that you feel is inappropriate and that you don't want them to do, because it might be cute when they're a puppy, but when they're an adult dog, it's not so funny, like jumping on people or going after a chicken, because that might be considered to them, a play toy. So, and when they do a behavior that you do not want, you need to use a very stern voice, a very commanding voice, and tell them to leave it. And usually they get the concept. You have your nice sweet voice, and then, okay, so she's not really liking that, I shouldn't do that anymore, kind of voice. So eventually the puppy will pick up on, hey, that's not an allowed behavior, and I shouldn't do that. And that's something that's really worked for me, the leave it. They don't, whenever I tell my dogs to do that, they do listen. So one example that I've had, my goats are over there grazing. One example is we had a neighbor dog come over, and it was a husky, and Jax and Mia did their job, and I came out of the house because I heard the ruckus outside, and the poor dog was trying to get away. He understood that, hey, I'm not supposed to be here. So when the dog would get loose from Jax or Mia, the other one would grab a hold, and he couldn't get back to where he belonged. So I hollered out the leave it command, and both of them immediately came to me and sat next to me, and the dog was allowed to go on about his way, and we've never seen the dog over here again. So the leave it command is kind of a good one, because if I hadn't done that, there's no way I would have been able to break up them trying to defend their territory. So anyway, let's see here. Be vigilant in your training. Don't let things slide, because when you do let things slide, then you're going to end up with behaviors that are hard to break in the long run. So, because behaviors are easily controlled when they're puppies, because they do see you as their alpha. So try to make sure when they're puppies that you set a good foundation so that they will listen to you, because like I said, these dogs are bred to think independently. So anyway, and then when you feel your puppy is, my dog's back there in the pond. When you feel your dog is, or your puppy is mature enough, you can start leaving them with your livestock for short periods at a time, unsupervised. When you do start doing that, I would recommend that you are there around the house so you can kind of check in, peek in at certain times, so that the puppy is behaving the way it should be when you're not around. Let's see here. All right. And as the puppy gets older, they can be out with the livestock longer periods of time without you being out there. And then eventually you'll just have to trust that they will do their job. Every livestock guardian dog is different. They mature at different rates. So you really have to go by what your dog is like. You can't, they're not made out of a cookie cutter mold. They're all different. So really you have to kind of read how your dog gets along with the animals and things like that. So some of them mature at quicker rates and some of them at slower rates. So anyway, and I think that's all I have for you on that. That's kind of how I do it. I just start when they're young, the 3 commands, and just watch the behaviors that they have. And you can really kind of sculpt your dog to see. Oh my God, she's over here. You are wet. She can't come in the house for a while. Anyway, you can kind of sculpt your dog into the way that it needs to be for your farm and how it's going to work on your farm, so, or homestead, whatever you call it. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Things that you do with your dogs if you train your own pups. So anyway, I guess that's all I have for you in this video, and you guys have a good day. Take care.